It's been a while since I've made an animal segment, so I figured it'd be the perfect time to cover a subject I've been meaning to talk about for a very long time. The history of wolves in Japan is marked by the existence and eventual extinction of two distinct subspecies. The Japanese wolf, also known as Canis lupus hodophilax, and the Hokkaido wolf, also known as Canis lupus hattai. The examination of their historical and ecological contexts reveals insights into their roles in Japanese culture, their decline, and the current prospects for their existence. The Japanese wolf, also known as the Honshu wolf, inhabited Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu islands in the Japanese archipelago. And if you look at a map, these three islands make up three of the four main islands of Japan, with the fourth being Hokkaido up in the north. The Japanese wolf was a distinct subspecies of the gray wolf, whose evolutionary history can be traced back approximately 9,000 years, with its remains being discovered in archaeological contexts such as shell mounds. Genetic studies indicate that the Japanese wolf evolved from a mix of ancient and Pleistocene wolf lineages and adapted to its environment across the aforementioned three islands of Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. Unlike the Japanese wolf, which is associated with the Asian continent, the Hokkaido wolf has genetic ties to North American wolves, having estimated to have diverged just about 9,300 years ago. It is believed that the Hokkaido wolf reached Japan via land bridges that existed during glacial periods. The most famous of these glacial period land bridges would be the Bering Strait Bridge that once connected Siberia to Alaska and therefore connected North America and Asia. In contrast, the Japanese wolf arrived earlier, during the late Pleistocene period, which is estimated to be between 25,000 and 125,000 years ago. In this way, the history of wolves in Japan is similar to that of the history of wolves in North America, where gray wolves arrived from Asia through glacial land bridges, but were preceded by the Pleistocene coyote and Beringian wolf, who had arrived in North America the same way, but much earlier. Both the Japanese and Hokkaido wolves held significant cultural importance in Japanese folklore and among the indigenous Ainu people of Hokkaido. The Japanese wolf was revered as a protector of crops, reflecting its role as a guardian spirit in Japan's indigenous Shinto belief. The name Okami translates to wolf, and it is associated with mountain deities believed to offer protection against crop raiders such as wild boar and deer. The Ainu honored the Hokkaido wolf as the deity Horkyu Kamui, associating their origins with wolves and performing rituals to honor these animals. Ritual sacrifices were common, and Ainu myths often linked human lineage to wolf ancestors, showcasing a deep reverence and interdependence between the two species. In contrast to the veneration shown in Japanese spiritual beliefs, the Japanese wolf faced persecution during the Meiji Restoration, which marked the beginning of Japan's modernization and prominence in the world stage, when the wolf was viewed as a threat to agricultural modernization. Between the late 19th and early 20th centuries, government policies led to the extermination of both the Japanese and Hokkaido wolves in favor of livestock farming. Today, both subspecies are recognized as extinct, with the Japanese wolf disappearing by the early 20th century and the Hokkaido wolf likely extirpated by 1889. The Japanese wolf succumbed to disease, namely rabies and canine distemper, and deliberate extermination as part of agricultural reforms due to the aforementioned Meiji Restoration. The Hokkaido wolf faced similar pressures eventually facing systematic poisoning campaigns initiated by ranchers, namely the efforts of one prominent American rancher from Ohio hired by the Japanese government for the purpose of modernizing agricultural techniques, Edwin Dunn. Significant habitat loss has occurred due to urban development and logging, which altered the forests that once supported wolf populations. Japan has stringent regulations regarding land use, and the ecological landscape has changed dramatically, so much so that it has become far less favorable for large carnivores like wolves, which require vast territories and stable prey bases. Over 40% of Japan's deciduous forests, primarily composed of Japanese beech, were felled post-World War II. If nobody saw any wolves during the periods of all that logging and development back then, chances are the wolves didn't stick around. Or maybe they became way better at becoming more elusive. The deforestation and ecological fragmentation not only diminished suitable habitats, but also reduced prey diversity, critical for sustaining a wolf population. However, it is worth noting that Japan has since done an excellent job of afforestation to develop the forest structure of the nation and to maintain the biodiversity found in the Japanese wilderness. Good job, Japan. Despite conclusive evidence of extinction, there have been numerous anecdotal reports of wolf-like creatures in rural Japan, particularly in mountainous regions. Reports of sightings have persisted into the 21st century, with individuals and researchers claiming to observe animals resembling Japanese wolves. Hiroshi Yagi, an amateur quote-unquote wolf hunter, became interested in the Japanese wolf ever since he claimed to hear a wolf howl on Mount Naeba in the 1960s. In 1996, Hiroshi snapped several remarkably vivid photographs of a wolf-like animal in Chichibu Tamakai National Park, north of Tokyo. He offered it a cookie, but it gave him a worried look and refused. Imaizumi Yoshinori, the director of the zoological department at the Museum of Nature and Science at Ueno Park, Tokyo, thought the animal's morphology suggested it was a Japanese wolf. It is worth noting that the animal has a rear Dewclaw, which would suggest that at some point in its genetic history, its parents bred with domestic dogs. In Japan, that would probably be one of the native Spitzes like the Shiba Inu. As we mentioned earlier, evidence does suggest some ingression did exist in Japanese wolf populations from domestic dogs well before the wolves went extinct. In fact, and I quote, several Japanese wolf specimens have turned out to be Yamainu, or mountain dogs, that genetic evidence suggests are high-content wolf dogs, or stray dogs with very high percentages of wolf DNA due to past hybridization. Some wolf populations in North America today owe their rear Dewclaws and black color, their melanistic form, to ancient breeding with domestic dogs who crossed over the Bering Strait Bridge into North America from Asia. So the presence of the rear Dewclaw does not necessarily automatically discount it as it being a Japanese wolf. Today, the animal in the photograph is usually referred to as the Chichibu Yaken, or the Chichibu wild dog. More recently, amateur researchers and local enthusiasts continue to claim sightings, although definitive proof remains elusive. But who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if some kind Japanese villagers, keeping faith with their ancestral traditions, which venerated the wolves, are indeed familiar with remnant populations of wolves, but choose not to tell anybody for the safety of the animals. To conclude today's segment, the historical context of wolves in Japan reveals a complex interplay between human attitudes, ecological roles, evolutionary history, and environmental changes. While the official extinction of both the Japanese wolf and the Hokkaido wolf is documented, the potential for isolated populations or even hybridized descendants raises intriguing questions about the presence of wolves in contemporary Japan. However, current ecological conditions and habitat disruptions make it highly unlikely for a sustainable wolf population to exist today without significant environmental restoration efforts. The mystery of the Japanese wolf continues to captivate both researchers and the public alike, reflecting a deeper connection between culture, the science of ecology, and the spirituality of the natural world. Thank you all for watching Eclectic Explorations. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want more content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. It's the best way to stay in the loop on all our latest videos, and it helps support the channel so we can keep bringing you new stories and insights. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the new one.